Great, so that's that. The theme has been established of home. The last line of the last chapter was "The Summer Abroad" in a very appropriate manner. And I'm going to start reading chapter 2 here. I just want to comment that I find it so appropriate that my next door neighbors are jamming their own electronic music. The gentleman is a hobbyist producer, and there's music playing all the time. So, what better way to provide ambiance to this reading? Chapter 2. It was a typical day in May, in the live music capital of the world. The sun hadn't peeked over the skyline smog of the morning yet. Hot as hell, I remember. Good for bass practice. Weather worthy of a fever. Only 24 hours before my flight, I would bus to Houston later that afternoon. Rick had already left for our hometown. I would meet him there at the airport tomorrow, so I figured today I could load new tunes. I biked to the hippest record store in town, Tumbleweed Music, and went for the door as soon as management unlocked it. Timing my arrival so well, I got goosebumps before the cold air conditioning inside hit me. Past the counter stood what I needed, a stack of vinyl Random Access Memories albums under a limited edition poster board shelf of the Robots with their arms folded. A familiar Rhodes melody from the speakers above played alongside the AC. I felt like I was watching them live again for the first time. Warm stomach and the chills. Taking my first step towards the records, I faltered, caught sight of the girl working the desk. There's something I want to say. I had thought about her on the way to the store. Figured she wouldn't be there because she worked evenings. Though, wouldn't it be crazy if she showed up? The whole thought made me sad. I was used to seeing her, and being used to seeing her made it easy to hope she would, for whatever reason, appear. All of a sudden, I had my chance. And yet, I jumped into the A to B section and acted casual. She acted casual too, in my mind, cutting open boxes and stacking Ram albums onto the poster board shelf. I watched as she popped open the box cutter, slid it down the middle of those carton boxes, and snapped the tape ends of them without cutting those edges. The sounds she made could be recorded, made into a song. She had a few bad wrist tattoos and long flowing hair she had dyed about 6 months ago, but decided to leave natural. She wore jean overalls with shoulder straps unclipped to let her chest breathe through her low-cut shirt, because of the weather, of course, and heart-shaped sunglasses over her head. Damn, she was cool. The new look suited her, and suited her more and more with each passing month. Based solely on attitude, I figured she wasn't really a girl. She wasn't giddy or stuck up about her work. She didn't complain or tack on a fake smile. I had watched her for months. I sound like that Police song, I know, but I was coming to the store to actually buy music. It was right across the street from the IFM office, and I would stroll in on occasion in the late afternoon. Whatever she did with style. Whether at the cash register, or spinning records, or smoking a cigarette outside, or cutting damn boxes. For a few months I showed up at the same time daily. I figured if she saw me every day enough, curiosity would arise for me to strike a conversation. But she was always busy, or she was always helping someone else. Weeks went by where I never talked to her, never struck a conversation. So long that eventually the fantasy overtook my tongue to say the right thing. There was never a perfect time, and as a result, all I ever did was watch her natural hair outgrow its dyed ends, and any hope of meeting her faded. Now, given it was so early in the morning, I had no excuse, no other register where I could avoid her. Plus, she was cutting open boxes of what I needed, so to hell with it, I thought, and swallowed my dry spit. I approached. Nothing happened. Stepping out of the store, the door chimes rang as hot May met my smile. She was kind. She didn't underwhelm me. Part of why I found it easier to avoid her until then, after so long, was because I feared that the real her wouldn't match my expectation. Alas, I was wrong. She told me that she DJ'd now and again in the evenings, and that's why she had picked up the morning shift. She had whispered and had smiled to tell me she wouldn't be tied down to that store much longer. I wish I had better memory, so that I didn't have to fictionalize my experience of life. But truth is, I was so nervous I forgot what the hell I said, and forgot a lot of what she said too. It went by too fast. She had mentioned the place she played at, over on the east end of town, some new bar, club, or other. I have since forgotten. The whole ride back to the duplex, I felt so high, I didn't think to write the name of the venue. Now, a whole year since that morning, she still comes to mind, in moments of quiet solitude, visiting me, asking me the usual what-if questions. My unsatisfied heart seems to be tuned to a "it's not meant to be" string, for it rings dirges in the night. So many babes coming in and out of life. I remember walking onto campus for orientation and having to tie a bandana around my head just to keep my jaw from falling off. Flocks of birds flew past Rick and I on our way to classes. I would slap his back, and he'd tell me to hush hush, the peacocks can hear you. By the end of the first semester, we had both agreed that there existed a natural reserve for them under one of the thrift stores along Guadalupe Street that would nurse them and raise them till they were ready to leave the nest. Wave after wave flew those cute college freshmen. Sophomore year, first week, same wow. Then junior year, oh boy, look, Rick, there go the 8 tweenies. Let's ruffle some feathers. Then the summer before my senior year, while Rick and I were moving into our first and last duplex, we rubbed our hands together and stretched our backs, thinking new year, new chicks. But, to our dismay, the first day of class proved the old McConaughey adage, but without its shining, belt-buckled worth. We had gotten older, they the same age, and yet, ew. The freshmen looked like gawking baby chickens, still wet from birth. They spoke another language, dressed the same, hadn't evolved. Know what I mean? Neon might catch your attention, but stare too long and it will blind you. Maybe one or another of the eccentric types caught our attention because they were usually the ones trying to look older, not recycled. Classic, not plastic. They might even come to our show. What interested me more senior year and onward were not girls, but women. It's no coincidence that my last relationship, she was younger than me, didn't work out. Anyone could see. Young, wild, and, as the saying goes. 2 lost years of high school, then 2 in college down the drain. I think I'm in love with someone else, she had told me on that snowy day in February of 2011. Over internet, no less, lol. The last day it ever snowed in Austin, if I recall. I think. She hid her indecision behind "I think." Therefore she sucks. What a mask. Insecurity. How would she have let me down more gently, though? How could I have inspired confidence in her? We were, after all, dating long distance. A mistake. No lessons about enduring the agony of separation were learned. Why, every time we reunited, there wasn't that explosion of passion bottled for weeks I would have hoped. Only the rotten sewage of a love gone underexpressed. I wrote her lyrics a few times, but she wouldn't listen. If in one of my songs you ever hear the line, "How will you provide for a family?" I'll owe her royalties. And she used to call me cheesy. I need to be understood, want to be understood, miss more than anything in my life to be understood. I don't even know what to say, so I borrow. Love is time and attention, dijo Fraga. A plant that wants to grow needs water. A body that wants to swole needs a spotter. Amor, la inclinación de una fuerza natural hacia otra potencia equivalente. Hazte mariposa y miel yo te seré. Cuando viento quieras, yo te soplaré. Something Algo sobre nosotros, I want to say, because there's something between us. Anyway, by the end of my college career, I was single, and it's been that way to this day. Now, I wouldn't mind settling down with a young Catholic girl and calling it a life, but sin calls me back every weekend, especially when gigging. Dating back in college was one bad cliche after another, a jam sesh of trial and error, a due paid by many a boy on this stage of life that rhymes comedy with tragedy. I'll own up to it eventually, but until then, hush hush. No regrets, certainly. Deep down, I cared, and anyone who knew me empathized. Alex knew me, and I knew there was something special about him and his lady Jenna. Rick knew me, and I knew he had doubts about his freshman girlfriend Megan. Baby, don't hurt me. Hide away instead, eh? Good riddance. If it's meant to be, then it's meant to be. All else is neither here nor there to me. Viajo sin moverme de aquí. Comatose, save for the night terrors, till the lines between sex and love resolve in our head. We'll go to bed, to toss and turn with our sweaty sheets and pillowcases only, trying hard to remember who, oh who, was the woman I met at the record store, or the bus, or the train. Maybe she's the one, we tell ourselves, rarely asking, could I have been her one? Rarely admitting that it might not be the right time. I might not be the right one. Stay tuned for the next chapter.